Have you ever been texting someone? Things seem to be going great, and then suddenly silence, no reply, no explanation, just ignored. It's confusing, it's frustrating, and let's be honest, it hurts. But here's what most women don't realize. When a man pulls away or goes quiet, it's rarely about you, but how you respond. That changes everything. In the next few minutes, I'm going to break down why men suddenly go cold, and more importantly, how to respond in a way that actually makes him come back, without begging, chasing, or playing games. You're not here to decode mixed signals, or play emotional detective. You're here to reclaim your power. So if you're tired of overthinking every text, if you're done wondering what did I do wrong, and if you're ready to turn the tables, to make him notice your absence, not take your presence for granted, you're in the right place. This video is going to shift your entire perspective on male behavior, and give you the emotional leverage to stop reacting, and start leading. Because here's the truth, a high-value woman doesn't chase, she attracts. And when you learn what I'm about to share, he'll realize exactly what he lost the moment you stop trying. So don't click away, the next few minutes might just change how you see every relationship from here on out. Let's get into it. Let's talk about one of the most frustrating parts of modern dating. The pullback. Everything seems to be going great. You're texting daily, maybe seeing each other often, you feel connected, and then out of nowhere he slows down. The texts become shorter, the replies take longer, and that effort he was giving, it fades. At first you might try to justify it. Maybe he's busy, maybe he's stressed, but deep down you feel it, he's retreating, and your instinct, you want to fix it. You might send that extra message, be a little sweeter, maybe even ask if something's wrong. But here's the hard truth. When a man starts to pull back, chasing him only pushes him further away. Now, here's what most people don't tell you. Pullbacks are normal. They're part of the emotional rhythm in many early relationships. Men often pull away when they're processing their feelings, when intimacy starts to grow, or even when they're unsure about their own readiness. It's not always a sign he's lost interest, but how you respond can determine whether he comes closer or detaches completely. When you react with panic, fear, or overcompensation, you unintentionally affirm his doubts. You show him you're emotionally dependent on his attention, and that changes how he sees you. But when you respond with stillness, calm, and confidence, that's when everything shifts. Men are wired to value what they perceive as scarce and self-contained. When you lean back instead of forward, you create space, and in that space he starts to wonder. He starts to miss you. He starts to remember the energy you brought. Pullbacks aren't rejections, they're tests, not of your worth, but of your self-control, your self-respect, and your ability to let him feel your absence without fear. So don't take his distance as a sign to prove your value. Take it as a chance to embody it. Because the moment you stop trying to pull him back is often the moment he starts finding his way back on his own. And that is power. When a man ignores you, it triggers something deep, something primal. You start to question yourself. Did I say something wrong? Was I too much? Not enough. And in that emotional storm, many women make the same critical mistakes. And these mistakes don't just push him further away. They damage your self-worth in the process. Let's talk about the most common one, chasing. You feel the connection slipping, so you overcorrect. You double text. You send the "Hey, are you okay?" or the "I just want to make sure I didn't do anything wrong" message. And while it feels honest and vulnerable in the moment, what it really does is hand him all the power. It signals that you're more invested in his validation than your own emotional balance. Another mistake, overanalyzing everything. You reread every text, replay every conversation, dissect his tone, his timing, his emoji use, trying to find clues. But here's the truth. When someone is ignoring you, it's not always about what you did. Sometimes it's about where he is, mentally, emotionally, or even just in his life. And even if it was about you, does obsessing bring clarity, or just anxiety? Then there's performative indifference. Pretending you don't care, posting stories just to get his attention, talking to other guys hoping it triggers jealousy. It's a trap, because you're still reacting to him. You're still letting his absence dictate your actions. Real confidence isn't pretending you don't care. It's caring about yourself more than his silence. Another common pitfall is venting to the wrong people. Sometimes friends mean well, but they'll say things like, just text him. Maybe he didn't see your message. Or guys are dumb, you have to show them you care. And while that advice might feel comforting, it usually encourages you to chase, when what you really need is to pause. And here's a subtle but damaging one. Internalizing his silence as a reflection of your value. This is where the spiral begins. You start to think, if he really liked me, he wouldn't do this. That thought hurts, because we equate someone's presence with our worth. But people's behavior is rarely a perfect mirror. Sometimes they ghost because they're emotionally unavailable. Sometimes they disappear because they're intimidated. And sometimes because they're just not ready for what you bring to the table. You can't control whether someone chooses to show up, but you can control what you won't tolerate. Silence can be a form of communication, and often it's louder than words. Instead of filling in the blanks with desperation or self-blame, let the silence speak. Don't fall into the trap of chasing clarity from someone who's already shown you confusion. Your peace is too precious for that. Because the moment you stop trying to win someone back is often the moment you start winning yourself back. So what actually goes on in a man's mind when you stop trying? You pull back, you go quiet, you stop checking his stories, stop liking his posts, stop initiating anything, and suddenly something shifts. Most women assume that when they go silent, he just moves on, that he's relieved, that he never cared. But the truth, it's the opposite, especially if there was genuine connection. See, when you do the one thing most women don't, when you don't react, don't reach out, and don't explain yourself, it creates disruption. Men are used to a certain emotional pattern. They pull back, and women lean in. It's been conditioned. It strokes the ego. It confirms his control over the dynamic. But when you don't lean in, when you do the unexpected and hold your energy back, his mind gets loud. At first he might feel relief. Okay, space, no pressure. But then days pass, silence lingers, and now it's him wondering, why hasn't she reached out? Is she over it? Did she meet someone else? And more importantly, did I misjudge her value? That's when curiosity kicks in. And curiosity is powerful. It's the beginning of renewed attraction. Because now you're not feeding his ego. You're not accessible. You're not giving him emotional reassurance. You've become a question mark instead of a period. And that mystery rewires his perception of you. Men are hunters by nature. And no matter how evolved we are, that instinct to pursue what feels valuable and rare doesn't go away. When you stop chasing, you signal something deeper. You don't need him to choose you, because you've already chosen yourself. That energy, it's magnetic, it's unspoken, and it flips the entire dynamic. In his mind, your silence creates contrast. He remembers how you made him feel. He starts to miss the attention, the softness, the connection, all the things he quietly assumed would always be there. And without warning, the power shifts. Not because you manipulated him, not because you played a game, but because you finally stopped giving your energy to someone who wasn't meeting you halfway. When you do this, when you go silent with purpose, not with pettiness, it activates a part of him that's been asleep. And suddenly, you become the one who's in control, not by force, but by self-worth. And that's what makes him come back. Not the silence alone, but the strength behind it. Emotional detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean you become numb or pretend to be heartless. It means you stop making someone else's behavior the compass for your self-worth. Let's be honest. When you've invested in someone emotionally, and they suddenly ignore you, it feels like rejection. It feels personal. But what if I told you the most powerful move you can make in that moment is not to react emotionally at all? That's where emotional detachment comes in. It's the ability to feel everything, confusion, hurt, disappointment, but not let those feelings dictate your actions. It's choosing peace over panic, power over performance. Here's how it works. Instead of spiraling into questions like, why is he doing this? Or how do I get him back? You shift into self-focus. You ask, what do I need right now to feel grounded? Where have I been overgiving? What have I been tolerating that I no longer want to? That's the first step, refocusing the lens back onto you. Next, you create emotional space. That means stopping the over-checking, the over-analyzing, the scrolling through his feed to see if he's watching yours. That habit keeps you mentally tied to him. It feeds an emotional loop where he still holds the power, even in silence. Instead, you fill that space with things that reconnect you with yourself. You get busy, not to distract, but to reclaim. Whether it's hitting the gym, reconnecting with friends, working on your goals, or even sitting in stillness, you remind yourself that your life is full, with or without him in it. And here's where the magic happens. When you detach emotionally, you no longer chase closure. You don't need explanations to feel at peace. You don't need a reply to feel worthy, because your emotional world is no longer tied to his actions. It's rooted in your own internal stability. And that shift, men feel it. They can sense when they no longer have that emotional grip on you. And ironically, that's when they start to return, when they feel the energetic cord has been cut. But by the time they circle back, you're no longer waiting at the same emotional door. You've moved, you've grown, you've elevated. That's what emotional detachment does. It frees you. It gives you back your power without punishing the other person. You don't detach because you don't care. You detach because you do care about your peace, your time, and your energy. And the best part, when you learn how to emotionally detach in a healthy way, no one can ever take your power away again. You become unshakable. Silence. It's one of the most misunderstood tools in dating and relationships. Most people think silence is passive, weak, or just a reaction to being hurt. But when used with intention, silence becomes one of your greatest superpowers. Here's why. When you go silent, truly silent, not pretending, you shift the dynamic completely. You stop giving energy to someone who isn't valuing it. You stop explaining, defending, justifying, and chasing. And in that stillness, everything changes. Because silence creates space. And space is where clarity lives. For him, it creates the space to actually feel your absence. Not just notice it, but feel the void you used to fill. The good morning texts, the constant support, the emotional presence, suddenly, it's not there. And men often don't realize the impact of your presence until you remove it. But silence isn't just about him, it's about you reclaiming your peace. When you stop engaging in emotionally draining conversations, stop reacting to breadcrumbs, stop showing up for someone who isn't showing up for you, you take your energy back. You become the calm in the chaos. You become mystery instead of noise. You become a challenge, not because you're playing games, but because you're in control of yourself. And the truth is, men respect silence more than begging, more than explaining, more than arguing. When you go quiet, it communicates strength. It says, I'm not afraid to walk away. I don't need to convince you of my worth. You either see it or you don't. That's confidence, that's value, that's power. Now let's be clear. Silence is not the same as manipulation. You're not being silent to get a reaction. You're being silent because you've realized that your voice, your attention, and your presence are valuable, and you're no longer offering them to someone who doesn't appreciate them. And in that silence, you start to hear something else yourself, your intuition, your self-worth, your standards rising. You begin to see that the version of you who begged for answers, chased after mixed signals, or accepted inconsistency, isn't the woman you want to be anymore. That's the real power of silence. It's not the punishment of someone else, it's the elevation of you. And often when you master this, the person who ignored you comes back, confused, curious, drawn to the energy shift they can't quite explain. But by then, you're no longer the same woman waiting for a text. You're the woman who realized she didn't need one. Silence isn't empty. It's full of everything you stopped giving away for free. And once you understand that, you'll never be afraid to use it again. Let's talk about what really happens when you reclaim your energy and power. Not in theory, but in practice. Because after being ignored, ghosted, or emotionally neglected, it's so easy to fall into the trap of giving everything away. Your thoughts, your emotions, your time, all trying to figure out what went wrong or how to win someone back. But the truth is, the more energy you give to someone who isn't giving it back, the more disconnected you become from yourself. Reclaiming your energy isn't just about cutting someone off. It's about choosing yourself every single day. It starts when you stop outsourcing your emotional stability to someone else's behavior. You stop waiting for a text to feel validated. You stop measuring your worth by how someone else sees you. And instead, you start building a life that feeds you. Ask yourself, where has your energy been going? Has it been wrapped up in checking your phone every hour? Has it been replaying conversations, wondering what you could have said differently? Has it been spent trying to prove you're enough for someone who couldn't even give you clarity? Now imagine redirecting all that energy back into you. Instead of worrying about him, you start showing up for yourself. You go to the gym not to glow up for revenge, but because your body deserves to feel strong. You focus on your career, your goals, your friendships, not to distract but to build. You create joy, peace, and movement in your own life. And suddenly you're no longer just reacting, you're leading. This is what reclaiming your power looks like. You stop seeking closure from people who are emotionally unavailable. You stop over-explaining to people who already made a decision. You stop shrinking just to be easier to love. And you start protecting your energy like it's sacred, because it is. When you do this, something profound happens. Your presence shifts. Your aura becomes different. You walk differently. You speak with more certainty. People notice, and yes, the person who once ignored you might notice too. But by then you're not waiting. You're not seeking revenge. You've simply outgrown the version of you that tolerated less than you deserve. Reclaiming your power doesn't mean closing your heart. It means opening it toward yourself. Loving yourself deeply enough that you won't settle for breadcrumbs, confusion, or inconsistency ever again. This isn't just about getting someone to come back. This is about getting you to come back to your own life, your own light, and your own truth. And once you've done that, you'll never give your energy away so easily again. Let's get real. If someone ignored you, ghosted you, or suddenly pulled away, of course you've thought, I hope he regrets it. And you know what? That's okay. It's human to want someone to realize what they lost. But here's the twist. You don't make a man regret ignoring you by trying to get him back. You make him regret it by becoming the version of yourself he never thought you'd become, the one who doesn't wait for him. See, most people expect you to react, to chase, to ask questions, to break down. And when you don't, when you go quiet, glow up, level up, and stay unbothered, that's when the regret starts to creep in. Here's what happens psychologically. When someone sees you continue to thrive after they've pulled away, it challenges the ego. It disrupts the narrative they created in their head, that you'd always be there, always waiting, always trying to fix it. But now they see your silence. They see your evolution. They feel your absence. And suddenly, they start to wonder. Regret doesn't hit when you beg. It doesn't hit when you reach out to just check in. It hits in the silence, in the glow up, in the way you carry yourself like nothing broke you. The secret isn't revenge, it's reinvention. Start showing up for yourself on a higher level, not for him, for you. Take care of your body. Say yes to new opportunities. Upgrade your mindset. Post with purpose, not to get attention, but to reflect the reality of who you're becoming. Speak less, move smarter, be where joy lives. Let your presence and your absence speak volumes. And when he checks your page, when he hears your name, when he sees you out, he won't just remember the woman who once wanted him. He'll see the woman he can't reach now. And that is where regret lives, not in guilt, but in realization. Realization that he had access to a rare energy and fumbled it. You never have to manipulate a man into regretting losing you. Just stop showing up for people who stopped showing up for you. Be unavailable to low effort. Make your peace louder than your pain. And most importantly, don't do any of this for him. Do it because the version of you that tolerates being ignored is not the version you're becoming. Let him regret it. That's his journey. You've already moved forward. If you've ever wondered why men pursue, why they sometimes chase hard in the beginning and then cool off without warning, you're not imagining things. There's real psychology behind how and when men pursue. And once you understand it, you'll stop taking their hot and cold behavior personally and start using it to your advantage. Here's the truth. Men are wired to pursue, but not just anyone. They pursue what feels valuable, slightly out of reach, and emotionally rewarding, but not easy to control. The moment you hand over your time, energy, and attention without boundaries, the chase loses its tension. And without that tension, his pursuit fades. Not because he's cruel or calculating, but because biologically and psychologically, most men are motivated by challenge and reward. Now don't confuse this with game playing. This isn't about acting like you're unavailable just to trigger him. It's about becoming someone who is genuinely fulfilled, grounded and selective, because that energy is magnetic. When a woman is centered in herself, when she doesn't rush, doesn't over-explain, doesn't seek constant validation, she sends a silent message. I'm not looking for someone to complete me. I'm already whole. That's when male pursuit intensifies. Why? Because he senses that he has to earn access to your world. And that's the difference between a temporary thrill and long-term attraction. Another key element is emotional unpredictability. Not drama, but depth. A woman who knows herself, who isn't afraid to walk away, who has passions, purpose and peace. She's unpredictable in the best way. She doesn't cling. She doesn't collapse. She doesn't orbit around his availability. And that unpredictability, it's intoxicating. Men also pursue when they feel like they're contributing to your life, not becoming your life. They want to feel needed, not for your survival, but for emotional impact. When he sees that his presence adds value, not rescues you, it activates his masculine energy, the part of him that wants to provide, protect, show up, and win you. But the moment he feels like the prize, while you're proving yourself, the pursuit flips. Now you're chasing, and he's retreating. To keep a man in pursuit mode, you have to stay connected to your self-worth. You have to remember that your presence is a privilege, not something he's entitled to. Let him meet you halfway. Let him initiate. Let him wonder what's on your mind, instead of always offering it first. Because the moment you stop overgiving and start observing, the moment you let him show you his intentions instead of assuming them, that's when the right ones pursue, and the wrong ones, they fade, just like they're supposed to. Here's the ultimate truth to take away from everything we've talked about today. You are the prize, not because you need someone to validate you, but because your worth is inherent, unshakable, and non-negotiable. When a man ignores you, it can feel like a loss, like your value is diminished. But that's never true. Your value isn't determined by his attention or absence. It's determined by how you see yourself, how you carry yourself, and the boundaries you set. Becoming the prize means owning your power. It means living your life on your terms, not bending or shrinking to fit someone else's idea of you. It means showing up for yourself first, with confidence, grace, and unwavering self-respect. When you embody that energy, you're no longer chasing validation or approval. Instead, you're radiating a magnetic confidence that naturally draws people in, not because you're trying to, but because you know your worth. This shift changes everything. It flips the script from desperate to desirable, from reactive to radiant. And yes, men notice this. They feel the difference. They sense when you're grounded, when you have standards, when you won't settle for less than you deserve. But becoming the prize isn't about perfection. It's about authenticity. It's about embracing your strengths and your flaws, your past and your growth. It's about loving yourself enough to walk away from anything or anyone that doesn't serve your highest good. Remember, the moment you stop waiting for someone else to validate your worth, you start living a life full of freedom, joy, and power. So if you take one thing away from this video, let it be this. Your value is not up for negotiation. Your energy is sacred. And the best relationships, the ones worth having, come when you show up as the prize you already are. Become that woman. Live that life. And watch how the right people come into your world. Because when you become the prize, you're not just someone to be won. You're someone who wins.